Welcome back to another episode of the Crawl Board Game Port.
Nice.
Why did we switch to live? Welcome back
done.
to another episode of the Crawl Board Games podcast. I'm Andrew. With me today, as always, is the master of Kickstarters, Joey, and our favorite Pennsylvania boy.
Just leave it at favorite. Just leave it at favorite. I'm fine with that.
Took me a minute. So we got a few things to talk about today. We're going to be talking about the game Furnace, rules. What's the name of your game?
Mine. Forgot already.
I was going to say Rule 3. I'm like, Rule 3, 4? What?
It's Code.
Code 3. Okay.
Nice.
And some other things. So let's start with Furnace. Why not?
Because I'm not prepared. That's why.
Take it away, Ralph.
Okay. So this is a game, came out probably about a year or so ago.
Very recently.
This is what's considered an engine building game. It's by Arcane Wonder. It's for 2 to 4 players. And it takes about 30 to 60 minutes. So this engine builder, you're going to be playing the game over the course of 4 short rounds, where in each round, you're going to be bidding on these certain little cards that either will give you what's called compensation if you don't win the bid, or it will give you powers on the bottom of the card if you do win the bid that you can later lay in front of you as a sort of tableau, like that's going to be your engine, right? So it's an interesting little game where you have just enough rounds to kind of get your engine up and running and getting you points. And then basically the game is over after that. Like it's surprising how quick it feels. Like once you...
It does end pretty abruptly.
Yeah.
But in a good way.
Exactly. Like I feel like once you get into your swing, that's kind of like once you feel comfortable about your engine, that's kind of when the game ends. It's always usually how it works out, at least for our playthroughs.
Yeah.
So the thing I love most about this game is that you're constantly trying to make tough decisions with your bidding. So you're given 4 little circles, 4 discs that are numbered 1 through 4. So you're not bidding in a sense of paying currency. You just have 4 bids. Some are very large to help you win the card. Some are very small to help you win those compensations that I was talking about. And then the 2 and 3 kind of float in the middle.
Yeah.
So it's a very delicate balancing act of, this card, this power might help me, but maybe I really need more resources, so I just want compensation instead.
Yeah.
It's a very cool balance where usually in bidding games that I see, you have full autonomy of your bids, and losing is just kind of like, usually you don't lose your money, but it doesn't feel great. This, you're always involved, whether you win or lose.
Yeah.
Either by compensation or being able to use the production afterwards.
Unless you go for compensation and accidentally win the card, which can happen. That's definitely happened to me a lot of times. In fact, the second game we played, the final round, I put all my tokens out, and I think I just won every card and got like no resources.
Yeah.
But so it's interesting because then, with the bidding, there's a risk of that. Like if you bid high, there's a good chance people are going to come with low tokens because then we know you're going to win, so at least we'll get paid out on that. Mm-hmm. But those 2s and 3s can kind of be used either way, and I've put 3s out and 2s out, and then one. I think I won a card with a 1 once. That was just the worst.
Mm-hmm.
But,
it's kind of that's part of the fun is, if you want to get rid of your number 1 token, pretty much meaning it should be a loss to you where you're only getting compensation, and then everybody just ignores that factory. Like you're just stuck winning this, and it doesn't feel good, but it's like it's very hilarious when it happens.
Yeah. And back to like what Ralph was saying, it's 4 rounds, but at the more factories you add, it starts to get pretty overwhelming. At least for me, it was. Mm-hmm. So anything more than the 4 rounds would just be too much because you could end up with, let's say you won 60% of your bids. That's 12 cards, maybe.
I mean,
somewhere around there.
Yeah, you'd be getting
10 to 12 cards. So that's 10 to 12 cards you go through. And you have to like in the order you choose, which luckily you do get to rearrange those each round or before each production so that you can do it. But even the ability to rearrange them can get you in trouble because I rearranged 1 round and I like screwed up my order.
Yeah.
And it ended up being the worst order I could have put them in because I misread a card. So I think I would have liked to play. There's an alternate rule where the cards go down in the order and then they're stuck in that order. So you can never change them, which would be cool because it adds a whole nother layer of being careful of, even if you see a card you really want, you got to decide, well, it's not really going to fit well next to this card.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the most about this that it's an engine builder, and it's a very good introductory engine builder. A lot of the times, engine builders can be a little bit cumbersome because they tend to be bigger games.
Yeah.
Whereas I think this one narrows down a lot of the key things that are an engine builder and just does them very simply, very easily, very accessibly for new players to engine builders.
Yep, it definitely has the essence of the engine builder. Mm-hmm. It is an engine builder, but it also has the essence of like an economy game with those resources that you're building with your engine. Mm-hmm. And the bidding, I really like the bidding mechanic. It's very interesting. It's not just bidding to win. It's also deciding where to intentionally lose, and then how much to lose by. Because, like Ralph was saying, when you lose the bet, you get a compensation that's on the top of the card. But it's a number of times the disc you put on. So if you get compensated with a 1, it's 1 time. So you got to decide, do I want 1? Do I want to do it twice? Do I want to do it 3 times? Mm-hmm. And then that's another thing you got to be careful about, which discs you're using, when and where.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So this sounds very abstract to me. So what's the it sounds very abstract to me. So what's the structure of it? It sounds you're just putting discs, but what do the discs represent? Anything?
The discs represent your bidding power,
right,
and you have a 1, 2, 3, and 4. They each get bigger. So the simple rules for bidding is highest number wins. As you're bidding, you can never put one that already has your color, and other players can never put one that has that number on it already. So it's not like bidding with money. It's bidding with these 4 power tokens and various powers.
Mm-hmm. And on each of the cards, they basically have 2 different types of actions. You can either gain resources, so the game deals with what they call upgrade tokens, oil, coal, and iron. Those are the 4 main resources that you'll be using. And there's cards that typically for compensation, you might be getting resources, you might be producing those resources. And then the way to score points is to turn those resources and trade them in for money.
Yeah.
So on some cards, you might see like, an example might be 1 oil barrel for 4 money. And the money represents your victory points. Cheap. Yeah, right?
Inflation isn't everywhere.
Not in 18, whatever 1800 this takes place in.
So it's a constant gathering resources, putting them through your factories, your production line, if you want to think about it that way, to output and trade for money from those resources that you acquire. And some of these cards, like I mentioned, 1 oil for 4 money. Some of the production cards let you do that one exchange 2, 3, 4 times.
Yep.
So you're kind of seeing the bigger picture of, okay, if my production line looks like this, right? And let's say I gain some coal and then some iron, and then I spend some coal and spend some iron. Well, obviously I would want to spend it after I get it. Right. Well, I guess at home it would be. I don't know which side of that.
The second time. You're right. The second time.
So you're trying to build up this little production line. It's like, oh, I'm going to produce coal and then sell it later on down the production line.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a cool little. I like to think of it. Anybody who's familiar with the video game like Satisfactory. You're kind of making the production lines, right? Okay, Joey's in now. I got him.
I got him.
So you're kind of like gathering all the resources, right? Your harvesters, and then you're wanting to push them to the certain, to
make
either
it into something else, and then make it something else.
Yep.
Except in this game, there's only one thing. It's just you're turning some resources into others or resources into money. So it's not like you're not building anything like in Satisfactory, but yeah, it's a cool little game. The concepts are pretty straightforward. The iconography is great for explaining exactly what you need to be doing.
I'll counter your point. I feel like some of the cards, because it's all icons, got a little much on the card. And I know Michelle said at one point I think she just forgot the rule we told her, but she had forgotten that number explains how many times you could do it. So she was just under the impression each crossover was one time. I know I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was at least one point where I remember with all the icons, I thought a card generated something, but it was actually to trade it. So not terrible. There's definitely way worse games out there. This is by far, I'm still good.
I'm going to say, and I mean this with all the love in the world.
You're going to call me stupid?
I'm not going to call you stupid, but I'm going to say, if you know that there's those two types of actions and that how many times you can do it, it kind of was a goof on you. I'm just saying it was a goof on you.
Because I'm stupid.
No. I love you. No. But it
was a goof on me. It was a goof on me. But I mean, there's a lot of goofs out there, right? I'm not the only goof.
I'm not saying you are.
That's why you always check the back of the box. It has the ages of the people who have to play it.
What is the age?
Oh, you don't want to know. No, it's 12. It's 12.
12? No, too high.
Too high. But yeah, you're right. So if you were to take the iconography of something like Race for the Galaxy, which has ridiculous kind of iconography about the different scoring and all of that, and all the different, what the different symbols mean, that is an extreme end, and this is very much beginner friendly. Because even though there's two types, there's not too much of it.
Yeah, because
that might be
really there's effectively 4 resources, but one of those is the upgrade token. So really, there's only 3. There's coal, iron, and oil. And then, so you're right. It's not too many things to keep track of. It was done very well. I goofed it, but.
And it's okay. I screw up rules all the time. Every game I teach, I screw up at least one semi-major rule.
Yeah, same.
When I teach it. So, you know what? Maybe I goofed. How about that? You heard it first, folks.
Only you did goof on when we could rearrange the factories. But that's fine. I think I got in less trouble when I couldn't arrange them all willy-nilly than when I was allowed to.
I mean, really, the goof that I made was it was that you can rearrange them between rounds instead of what the rule actually is, where it's before production, which, later on that kind of snowballs, because as you're winning more and more cards, that gets more and more punishing. Because in the first round, you're winning maybe two cards, and you're not really, your engine isn't there. But later on, that's a big thing. If you're winning 2 or 3 or 4 cards, it's a little bit more punishing.
Yeah. I definitely enjoyed it. How do you feel about engine building games, Joey?
I like engine building games.
Like the engine. How about you, Chat? Chat, what do you think of engine building games?
There's something cool about just building something that builds into something else, and you use bonuses to get ahead of the other players and whatever your engine building for.
That's why Minecraft's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
Let's see.
I have a question though. What's the guy in the box that looks like Abraham Lincoln? Is that just? Because that's exactly. I thought this was some kind of Civil War game.
That's Leopold Lincoln. No relation.
I don't know. He just
is that supposed to represent the player?
Yeah,
like a
you do. So you do get each.
So there's no miniatures, is what you're saying?
You'd hate it, Joey. You'd hate it.
But there are gloves and a cool watch.
Yeah.
No,
really?
But you do get. So each player gets you get your starting factory, and then you get an industrialist for a variable player power.
Mm-hmm.
So they all just kind of look like that era. So it's really, that's why I say it does also have very much the essence of a dry economics game in the good way, where it's there's a person there, but it's really not important. It's just to fill out the card kind of thing.
Yeah,
like Deja Vu. Haven't we talked about games like this in the same area? Like this 1800s.
Yeah,
last week.
You were right there.
You were right there the whole time.
That wasn't a fever dream.
That wasn't a dream.
That actually happened. But no, that's why I bring it up. So
yeah, but overall, I definitely recommend this game. This is going to be great to force on my parents so that they can play better engine building games.
Start watching videos.
Yeah, because this game very much reminds me of, just with the oil and the iron, it very much reminds me of what's it called? The Manhattan Project Energy Empire, which is another game that I own. It's more worker placement, and then the resources you're kind of turning in for certain benefits. So it's not necessarily engine building. It's more worker placement in this same sort of, well, not the same era, because it's talking about, like atomic energy rather than more industrial revolution energy. So
the world would be a very different place if they discovered atomic energy at the same time they invented the steam engine.
Trains would have been awesome back
Probably
then.
would have exploded a lot.
Yeah. But
Like
No.
Heisenberg, but for trains.
no, I really enjoyed it. I'm glad I told you to buy it.
Yeah, me too.
I wouldn't say it's 100% a gateway game. It's not a beginner game, but it's definitely like the next
Beginner for a
notch,
certain
the next
aspect.
notch above that.
Why don't you? That's actually a very interesting point. Why don't you think it's a...
Like I said, I do feel like the concept of exchanging for exchanging and the way it's handled in this game, because it can get overwhelming. I just think it's, to someone who hasn't played any board games and this is the first one, I feel like it could get too stressful. Like, and you know, we enjoy the stress of it. That's what makes it fun, because that's what makes you want to play again. And it's short enough that you can play a whole game and then just redeal everything out and try again. But I think someone who's no expectation of a modern game having a stress level like that, I think that for some people could be a huge turnoff.
I feel like you say that about any game, though.
I mean, there's definitely like way chiller games than a game like this.
But are they good?
They're not as good as Furnace, but you know what I mean. Like, you don't want to, like, I've definitely taught people games, like newcomers to our meetups, and to me, it's a pretty reasonable amount of rules, and the mechanics are pretty reasonable, nothing too crazy, and then it's just still hard for some people to grasp it sometimes, because you forget how foreign it is to someone who's never done anything like that. So
Yeah.
Okay. I might disagree with you about that, because I think, sorry, the laptop is like fading in and out, and I'm like, is it plugged in? I don't know.
it is plugged in.
Yeah, I think I disagree, but I see how it's, because I would consider it definitely on the higher end of a beginner spectrum.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say it's outside of it.
Right. No,
Which is interesting.
It still fits nicely in the beginner area, right?
Yeah.
But the very first of, so if it's like a little staircases, right, and there's sectioned off, it's definitely on that first tier staircase, but it's not the first step, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, of course. I misunderstood. I
Oh
absolutely
no,
agree with
I'm
you.
not saying it's anything higher than that.
Oh, I agree with you now. Okay. I'm with you.
Talking like people seeing dice for the first time type of new. Like,
No, things like people like people who don't even understand the concept of like resource management in a game, or have never played it. I don't want to say don't understand it. They've never done it before.
I feel like you could. Yeah, I guess what you're saying.
I mean, Joey's thrown Nemesis at beginners before, so and he's successfully done it.
Yeah, but he's also there like
He's a Jedi master, that's why.
Joey's figured out how to be the dungeon master for Nemesis. So
Yeah,
That's true.
it just flows so well.
and Nemesis is a little more narrative for a game, because it's a much bigger game. So even if you don't know mechanically what you're doing, you can kind of thematically say what you want to do and people can lead you.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to ask for advice from another player at the table in this game, because the bidding rounds are pretty silent for the most part, not 100%. And then your resource, your production phase, everyone's supposed to take simultaneously. And then if you're counting numbers, everyone gets mad at you and yells at you.
I mean, just count silently. That's all it is. That's all it is, Andrew. Just count silently.
So there's another thing. Simultaneous play, things like that, also might be difficult for a brand new player, because they like having that someone kind of on their turn, everyone's watching, and how many times are the people, am I doing this right? I'm doing this right?
Yeah.
Like in this game with the simultaneous play, they would be stopping your turn to say, hey, am I doing this right? So
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, that aspect changes things.
but it's still a great game to teach.
Good
new
points.
people.
Yeah.
So
You've
I
given
still
me a
love
lot.
the game. Let's play right now.
No.
Forget the rest of the podcast. We're just going to play.
No.
Swipe every. Oh, I almost broke it. Oh, so you got me excited. Like zoned out. I was just like, play a board game.
Welcome back, Joey.
Industrial Revolution. What time is it? What time period am I in?
Any time period you want.
But anyways,
Yeah, that's all I have to say about Furnace.
and it is back in print, so
Yeah.
go get you a copy before when I first told Ralph about it, they were out of print and they were going on Amazon for like $80-$90.
Yep.
And it's not a lot of components.
No.
It's like each player has 4 wooden discs, a punch out of a player marker, and it's a deck of cards. And then the resources too. But it's not $90 worth of
Not at all.
tokens and resources.
Not at all. I mean, I picked it up from the publisher on Amazon for $40, and I'll be honest, $40 was probably steeper than it should be realistically. The artwork is good. The cards, I believe they have like the nice linen finish. But for like the cardboard money punch outs and the resources, it's like, it's all right. But I don't know if it's like $40 worth, you know?
Yeah,
Couldn't even do metal.
but I think we're also just. I'd say it's still essentially a first run game, more or less. Even though it's almost a year old, it's still like pretty new. It'll definitely go down over time. Because like didn't Splendor like cost easily $40-$50 when it first came out, and that's not component wise. That one has even less than what this has going for it. Mm-hmm. So also too, business. You charge $40 and people are still buying it. Why adjust the price?
Back in my day, board games didn't cost this much money.
It cost 2 nickels.
You had to make them out of sheepskin. But no, I like it. Good job, Arcane Wonders. And who was the designer?
Ivan Lashin.
Well done, Ivan.
That sounds like a fake name.
It could be. Oh, it's actually like
Bellatrix Lestrange. Is that less fake? Is that
it's actually Isaac Childs' pen name.
could be? I mean,
It's like a Scooby-Doo mystery.
All right.
I'm
Yeah.
asking.
All right, shall we move it along? You have anything else to add about Furnace? Sorry to cut you off.
no. I was wrapping it up. I said that's about it for Furnace.
All right, let's wake Joey up now so you can talk about Code 3.
Code 3. We got the big ass box in the frame here.
You can have your table space back now, Joey. I'm done with it.
Oh, thank you. So now when we go to Ralph, we can see that. Okay, cool. It's not his game, but
Now we've teleported into the 80s.
yeah. So this Code 3, not to be confused that there's a Code 1 or 2. This is the first of its game, of its genre.
You're telling me Code 1 is actually Code 3? And
Yes.
Xbox One is actually
Yes.
Xbox 3?
Yes, it
Okay.
takes the confusing
Pronounce
naming
X-Bone.
metrics of the Xbox series and puts it into the board game here.
Love it.
But I should probably use what I wrote down here. So yeah, this is a excuse me. This introduces a beat partners system. So basically, well, actually, let me start from the beginning here. Basically, it's an 80s cop game. You're gonna combine. There's a bunch of different officers, and they have 5 cards each, and you're supposed to combine 2 officers. They're supposed to be partners, basically, and then you make one single deck of 10 cards out of 2 different officers. And there's a bunch of officers, even canine units. So you can get like different canine
Even
units.
police dogs.
And they all have basically they have stats on the cards, and they have like an investigative stat, and they have an arrest stat or something like that, which is like the more aggressive version versus the like you're just more inquisitive type of things that police officers
Let me
do,
aggressively investigate this.
which is
Tell me what I want to know.
arresting is like, it's the arresting stat, and then there's the investigating stat. So like, the canines, for example, none of them have any investigating because they're dogs. They can't investigate anything.
All right. I've seen dogs
Right?
be pretty
But they're
curious.
all just for arresting, pretty much. But they have each card has an ability to do different things, and basically what you're doing is there's scenarios in the game, and it's a cooperative game. So that's the cool thing. This is a cooperative game. You and all the police officers in your unit are trying to solve whatever crime has been committed. I know the early scenarios are things like a cat burglar is around here, and you have to find out.
Not an actual cat.
Right. Not an actual cat. It's like a real, person. You basically have to go, and basically there's a landscape. It's 6x6, so there's 12 locations. And the cool thing is like the I have the map here.
Shows that sweet neoprene mat.
Yeah. One of the few games where the neoprene mat, I think, improves the game
Oh yeah.
a lot.
I feel like neoprene mats improve every game.
Yeah, but
Well-
let me explain what I mean. So normally without the mat, we don't really have a overhead camera, but whatever, make it work.
Ralph won't let me plug in more cameras.
I'm just saying you shouldn't buy more
Maybe I
cameras.
should
You can plug in all the ones you want, just don't buy more.
Gotcha.
So without the what's that? Yeah, so it's like this. So it's basically like a little roadway system. So without it, you would just have empty space where the roads are, and you would just have the locations go in these squares. So it would just be empty space, which is kind of dull. And you have like a little car that represents your cop car, and you basically park on the side of the roads to mark where you're at, what location you're at. You're on the intersection of X, Y, or Z, whatever. I think without the mat, it looks worse because it's just empty space. Whereas here, it creates like this city. It makes the city feel better because you have these roads that you're on.
Yeah.
As you're holding that up and describing this, I desperately want to play this again. But with like, do you remember those like little rugs as we were kids that had like roads on it? You always see it. I want to play on that instead of this, Matt, and just make it more fun.
Everyone's pushing neoprene on Kickstarter. No one's pushing a fucking full-size floor rug for the game.
That could be cool. That would probably be expensive, but that could be cool.
Yeah, table's not big enough. Doesn't matter. You're playing on the floor.
Yeah. Has no one? All right. Sorry, this is gonna be such a tangent, kind of. Has anyone ever made like a floor rug that was just the picture of the Twister mat? Like, why deal with that stupid plastic, sweaty, gross, wet?
I feel like someone definitely has
like that has to.
And
be
if they
thing,
not,
right?
we should probably wrap
Tell
this
Michelle.
up quick.
Tell Michelle. Oh yeah, no, we'll make it. Yeah. Okay, sorry. Tangent over.
Sorry, I was trying to read what I was going to say.
We're still learning how to be live. we're coming from
Both on TV and off.
difficulties. Throw up the that weird like colored mirage of things that go up after we screw up.
I'll just throw this up. Now they can't see.
Yeah. So anyway, in Code 3, there are many ways to lose, but only one way to win. Making tough choices, going goal by goal through a branching story. What choices will you make? Do you play it by the book, or do you step just outside the line to get the job done? So what that means is like there's different ways to solve different investigations and things. You can go to certain locations to find out clues over in this location, or you can go and respond to like what'll happen around the map is just 911 calls will happen the whole time, and you're basically trying to keep those down while you investigate the real story. And how you solve it is kind of up to you and the officers you choose. Like I know one of the officers is like a drunk, so he has like he has some debuffs about like investigating where he gets more like internal affairs cards than other characters.
Yeah.
So he has to deal with those more often, and there's a part where if you don't deal with those IA cards, that's how you lose. So that's why it says there's many ways to lose. You can get in trouble with IA too much, and lose that way. You could have too many 911 calls go unanswered. You could lose that way. What else? And you're just trying to. There's a police chief who will tell you what to do every time you get to the next milestone of the story.
So how do you actually stop the crime? Like, is it like resource based, role based?
Dice. There's dice. So it's a roll based. So a lot of times you'll have these stats and you have to roll a certain amount. It'll be interesting because the way you resolve it, it'll be different types of rolls. So sometimes it's like you have to roll, 3 5s to clear.
Okay,
this one
so
out.
Like you're trying to get dice hands, if you will.
Right. Other times it's like you have to roll more than 14 total.
That's cool.
Then you add it up. So it's like different ways to do that. And because different officers have different powers, there's easier ways to manipulate it to do certain things. Like you can just, after a roll, you can just make one dice any number. So it makes certain...
So it's dice thrown 5-0, basically.
Sort of.
That's an awesome title. That's very awesome.
I actually want to go to the Kickstarter page and see if we can play the little video.
Sure.
If we can do that.
To the internet. Woo.
The thing that I love about this game is that sorry, children.
Showing them all the secrets.
Secrets.
I don't have Pornhub down there.
Oh, we don't have it. Can you type that in?
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't reach. It's like an awkward situation.
Oh, yeah, and I forgot there are resources, and the resources are all these like stereotypical like police things. So donuts are
of course
are
they
a
are.
resource. Coffee's a resource, and overtime is a resource.
Okay. We learned our lesson last time. Let's make sure that
God.
we're...
Oh, wait, I didn't play last time. We're just silent.
Yeah.
Didn't we? What did we deafen ourselves on? There was something that like just blasted the audio in our ears. I couldn't remember.
No, that was because we had it on... we just had it coming out of the laptop. But
Oh, okay.
I'm actually not getting the... Hold, please.
So the thing that I love about this game is the theming. You know, you were just talking about like a police chief or the different types of cops. Like this movie is dripping with like that
Movie?
just super thematic, like any stereotypical movie with like the hard ass police chief who's always on your case about something. I just rewatched Lethal Weapon today, so I'm like, this is like fresh in my mind.
Oh.
But like you have like the true like buddy cop movie, whether it's like The Last Action Hero or Lethal Weapon or Bad Boys.
I saw that movie in theaters, Last Action Hero.
I love that movie. So good, so underrated, so underrated.
All right, so here is the video for
Code 3.
Code 3, Angry Cop Party.
Felt like the city was going to explode. Oh, you're going downtown, dirtbag!
Those are some chunky dice. I gotta say that right away.
Get over it.
That's the dice I've seen. Game.
I don't remember it, but
This is pre-production, so
yeah.
Okay.
I'm downtown!
I definitely
Destroyed
it's definitely a lot different.
half a city block, 2 middle schools, and a hospital. People ask me if I have any regrets. Yeah, left the other school standing.
I rolled in hot to the crime scene, City Park. I told the Sarge call in the meat wagon. It ain't looking pretty.
I wasn't even supposed to be here. I flew in from the East Coast to visit my ex-wife at her Christmas party in Maconochie
Yep.
House.
Wait a minute.
Yep. Yep.
I have not seen this video before.
Until the building got taken over by Eastern European terrorists.
Sounds
Hi, I'm
familiar.
Brandon. I'm one of the designers of Code 3.
Hi, I'm Matt. I'm one of the co-creators of Code 3. When you see that police car go by, blowing red lights, he's going through intersections, he's threading the needle between cars. That's Code 3.
So the component's not final.
The heart and soul of the game is your characters that you're choosing at the start, from rookie beat cops to salty veteran detectives.
If you want the homicide
drunk.
detective in the car with the canine, and you want the canine to drive, that's your choice.
You're going to name the city.
It is
and
my
this
choice.
city is full of crime and chaos. You may be up against this mysterious serial killer, and depending on what branch you take, this serial killer could end up being a random guy or one of your buddies down at the precinct. You don't know, because every scenario has this choose your own adventure style way that you play the game. And while you're trying to advance your way through this story, you cannot forget about the city.
Some of these radio calls are super exciting, like a bank robbery in progress, or you might just be dealing with another crazy naked guy that's there at the park.
Do you play it by the book, or do you step outside the rules a little bit?
Each scenario is gonna feel like you're living out one of these 80s buddy cop movies.
Yeah, sure, it's a lot of fun to kind of go out there in the 1980s and play it a little dirty, but you're gonna end up going to internal affairs.
You've got donuts allowing you to re-roll. You can combine coffee and donuts in order to take your Code 3 run to be able to handle a radio call that's just out of reach.
The only way to win the game is by attacking that scenario. You team up your cops, kick the tires, light the fires, humping a beat, pushing a black and white, kissing babies, kicking doors in, arresting bad guys,
Kicking
taking down
babies,
crooks, fighting
kissing
crime.
doors.
That's what Code 3 is all about. We truly need the funds to go print and produce and ship and fulfill this game, and we're looking for your guys' support to help us create this game, to establish this reputation of having as much content as possible in one box and replayability, and to back us. So, yeah, thank you.
Thanks for watching. Check out the Cyber Cop Challenge Triple C live on Kickstarter, Black Key Games.
All right. I noticed training isn't a resource to utilize.
So I wanted to, when you keyed on that,
And it's back.
hey, there we go.
All right, wow.
Our recorder shut off little technical difficulties. I don't have a technical difficulty card to flash, so you're saying, Ralph?
You keyed off of the Die Hard reference, and I wanted to show you on the back of the box. The video showed it, but there's a little John McClane like leaping over a table, getting bullets shot at him.
That is very close to
barefoot,
John McClane.
barefoot as well, if you'll notice.
Detective McClane.
That's Ted McClane?
No, it's Detective McClane.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is he actually Detective McClane?
Yeah, I think that's his name in that
I guess McClane, you can't really copyright that name, right?
name.
Just generic
I'm
name?
sure you could spell it differently, and it still comes across the same.
Yeah. Someone check the trademark on that.
I mean, they called it the Nakanashi Tower or whatever the for the Nakatomi Tower. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure they're in the clear.
Gotcha. So, it looks cool. I had another question now and I forgot. Okay, no, so the video said it's scenario driven. So is this a campaign style game?
Not
Like each
Yeah,
scenario is
I
going to pan out
Yes,
a certain way each time?
I didn't get that impression, but
It does. I don't think it is because you just do one scenario and then that's it. It's kind of over. And like every time you start one of these, you start fresh.
yeah.
With, you pick your officers that you want to start with. So you can start with different officers each time. You can start with a different police chief each time. Different
Okay.
police chiefs have different like passive abilities and things you can do when you get there's one dice that's the chief dice, and like there's certain bonuses that come up when you roll that dice and you get certain things.
The chief dice.
Yep.
All right, sounds cool.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move. Oh, sorry.
No. Well, I was just thinking. So I didn't necessarily think that this game as is was anything fantastic.
Right.
But what I do think was fantastic is how the 4 or 5 of us that played all like role played the hell out of our police
Yeah.
like cops.
That was the
and
fun part.
that's the really cool part about this game is like everybody's seen that buddy cop movie with, the reckless one and the responsible partner.
Yeah.
But but it's really cool to kind of like, especially if you're into that sort of thing, to just like really play off of your characters like that. So I just wanted to highlight that where it's like, sometimes you got to put a little bit more into the game to make it that much more memorable.
I like games like that where it's easy enough to fit in some light role playing at the table. Mm-hmm. My favorite buddy cop movie is both 21 and 22 Jump Street.
And 22?
It's one of those rare phenomenons where
Yeah.
the sequel was just as good as the first one. They pulled it off somehow.
I loved the first one. The second one, I'm gonna have to rewatch it again because I haven't seen it. I actually watched 21 Jump Street maybe like a month ago, but I haven't seen 22 in a while.
Yeah, I remember liking both of them a lot.
And just for our audience, we're younger, so we're talking about the remake, not the original television series, because there is no 22 Jump Street television series as far as I'm aware. We're just talking about the more recent movies with Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill.
Arguably better.
Yeah.
So, all right, moving along. So I have a question for you guys. This is going to be our talking point for the podcast. My question to you and to the anyone in the chat who wants to share their thoughts: what board game trend are you ready to see go? It's been done. We had a good run. Let's move on. Joey, you told me yours earlier, and I almost want to say that is mine too, but I'll come up with another one. So
I gotta admit, I forgot what I said.
So it's completely my idea, not Joey's. IPs.
Yes,
using
that's
IPs of things that either.
Well, what am I going to talk about now? That was mine.
All right, let's. You know what? This segment has converted to stop using IPs that already exist and go back to making original content.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every board game now is like, oh, this is, that video game you love. Now it's a board game. That movie you love. It's a board game now.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god.
I guess mine was a little more targeted. Just stop putting Marvel on everything. Like,
yes,
the movies are great. Like, I get you want to make a video
Disney.
game into a board game. That's fine. But I love Marvel. Don't get me wrong. Love it to death. Well, I thought the movies were great. God, am I sick of seeing it though. Simon, looking at you.
Yeah. No, Marvel's cool and all, but for every game that comes out as a Marvel IP, that's one less IP that could have existed.
Yeah.
That's one less route. That's one less.
It's one less season of Dice Throne that they just slapped some Marvel characters on. Very salty about that. Waiting for season 3. Now I just get this.
Game.
Now I
got the Marvel one. Dice Throne.
You traitor.
But why?
Well, I mean,
I like Marvel. I like Dice. I like Dice Throne.
But why do you?
Joey's
But I
like,
never had Dice
stop
Throne,
slapping
so-
all these IPs on everything. But the Marvel, though, hold on.
Yeah, I mean, Joey, it's like I like beer, but I'm not going to drink it all day, every day.
Well, listen, I love Marvel. All right, so there's some exceptions to the rule,
Yeah, but what if, what if Isaac Childs got a Marvel IP and we had this big boxed dungeon crawling Marvel game,
Marvel Haven.
Marvel Haven.
I'd buy it. I'd buy the whole thing, the collector's
And then-
edition,
and then
whatever it was.
Founders of Shield.
Oh my god.
Well, Founders is a little different. I'm not too excited about Founders,
Yeah.
but I'd buy it.
Yeah,
you
I
go.
think IP. Yeah, like I do love original content, and we're seeing this with movies and video games and stuff. Like, a lot of it is derivative or just flat out remakes or reboots. Like it, and I'm not saying that's an easy thing to come up with that original content, but we can't stop trying.
Yeah, but there's a lot of games they don't need to have an IP attached to them because they don't really need an explanation beyond what they are, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's funny. I did see there's a guy I follow on TikTok. I wish I could remember his name right now. Who's a board game designer, and he had a video where it's like, "Oh, comment. Well, what IP next game should I try to design?" And I really wanted to comment, nothing. You should not use any existing IP. But I didn't want to, be that guy in the comment section.
Yeah.
I got more trends I hate.
Lay it on us.
Excuse me, I just got a cough.
I hate
right
that too.
Andrew.
that is a trend right now, coughing. We're trying not to.
Oh my god.
It's okay, I'm vaccinated. Cough on me all you want, Joey.
I'm boosted.
Or don't.
Spit in my mouth.
I'm even more boosted.
Let's test this bitch.
It's like a weird turn. Yeah, trends I hate.
Remember when boosted was just a video game term?
Right.
Yeah.
They took our terminology. These politically correct people or incorrect people. Whatever. way
Joey,
you're
we're
on.
live now. Don't.
Let's get out of politics. Red alert. Red alert.
We should have like
we need to program like a macro key that's like a panic button for, for Joey.
Should we start giving the apology speech that we have to give every time?
You should probably pre-write one.
Okay. What was I gonna say? Oh, so using dice as a form of power in a game, like that's how you win, is just using just dice rolls by itself. I think that is a trend I hate. Like, let me see. Like just I use Monopoly as an example. Like, it's just, the spaces you move, you really have no control over it. There's no other thing you can manipulate to change it.
Yeah, I think we're way beyond that trend though.
I disagree.
I'm trying to think of a game that
good design incorporates ways to mitigate your dice rolls
Definitely.
or change
Right.
them. And that's a trend I am hoping stays around, because you're right. Like, back in the day, dice was very much movement based, or, nobody could just iterate on the dice idea, right? Just roll the dice and then you move this. And it's like, well, that doesn't feel good because it's random. So mitigating that. So I agree with you. I think dice that give you power with no way to mitigate or
Change
alter
it
them.
or-
Yeah. I absolutely
And I
agree
feel
with
like
that.
there's more. Monopoly just jumps out as the easy one to for anybody to understand. But I'm pretty sure there's a lot more that have like not just about movement, but like power. Like you're stronger than.
I'll tell you the
one.
trend I'm ready for. You guys ready for this? This is gonna change the face of board game production as we know it.
Okay.
Any game that has a miniature has miniatures in it. Mm-hmm. Don't put the miniatures in. We use something cheaper like standees.
Yes.
The miniatures are now the expansions, and all the game expansions are now base game components. Mic drop.
What?
Well,
Lost that last part.
game expansion all base game.
So if you had a miniatures based game that came with miniatures, and then you can buy an expansion for that miniatures based game. No. The miniatures are now the expansion. The actual game content expansions are just part of the game now.
I think that's very Kickstarter specific though, because a lot of games, if they're not done through crowdfunding where expansions are promised, right? Expansions come out naturally. Like you can't assume that the expansion is going to be ready right when the game comes out.
That's a lot of these
except for Kickstarter, where they purposely build in extra time to force it. I'm going to say force it because most of the time it's a forced afterthought. But I mean, I agree with you to some extent to kind of like stop the mini era that we're in. And by mini, I mean miniature, not like mini as in small.
Yeah,
but
we're definitely already past the miniature craze, I think. Aside from Kickstarter.
Kickstarter is this weird anomaly where it revolutionized board games, but it's also changing the face of...
Set a weird standard.
Yeah, it's a weird standard. I like that. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, I actually don't like the miniatures unless I can get them painted in some way. And there's like, so if I'm going to paint them myself, I don't want like hundreds of minis. And I'm just like, I'm never going to paint all these.
Yeah.
And I don't like the gray, like, you know, crappy plastic it comes in. So like for the Dwarves game back last week, I made sure to get they have the standee versions for it. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to back the standard. I don't even want the stupid expansion that has the miniatures. I want the standees.
We love a good standee.
They already have color. I don't need the miniature. I don't need it. It's fine for the 4 main characters. Just it helps differentiate it from the enemies.
Yeah.
And then I can paint 4 models easier than 100.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with that, and that is awesome. And I would, I don't know. I love an expansion with just the standees.
Yeah, I think this kind of spawned a little bit from, and correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew, this spawned a little bit from when we were playing Jaws of the Lion last week, where we were talking about how our characters had miniatures, which felt right. It was a quick way to differentiate the hero on the board from all of the enemies. But then you had made a really good point about standees in the game, how they're able to show the artwork that was created for the game.
Yeah.
Whereas not to downplay the miniature side of it, where a lot of time goes into the 3D rendering of those minis to be able to mold them and create them. But, there's a lot of cool concept art out there that I would just love to see more of. And standees are a great way to show that. And it saves space. Like, Joey, I go to your house and I look behind where you sit and see the 17 boxes of Horizon Zero Dawn and Marvel United, and it's like that's 2 games. That's a whole shelf for 2 games. Like, it's a little wild when it comes to the minis, space wise.
Yeah.
For a planet that's on fire, maybe we should be spending less on cardboard. But standees would save the space of needing to encapsulate all those minis.
Yeah, so you have room for more games.
Yeah.
I always my philosophy on miniatures in games is the miniature should have weight to it and be a valuable piece that gets moved a lot. Like Great Wall, for example. It's like it's got a lot of cool minis, but we didn't need them all to be minis. We could have easily had some standees in there that would be the ones that get sent to the what do you call it? The resource area. Or something like that.
But I thought you said you wanted to move the miniatures a lot.
That too. So then that also proves my point is that there's all these miniatures and they're for a lot of the games static in a game like that. Blood Rage too. Blood Rage is like one of my favorite board games, but the miniatures just look cool. They don't really serve a lot of purpose. They don't actually move a lot. And you could have easily had a version of that game where
there's a meeple versions for Great Wall.
There's a Meeples version?
Yep, there's a Meeple version.
Right.
That's the standard version, but
could have been a Meeple version for Blood Rage and it would have played fine.
Yeah.
I can't get the standees with Awakened Realms. I don't think I've ever gotten the regular version with one of those.
Oh, right, because you're in the cult. So.
I'm not convinced they produce standees. I think they only produce miniatures. That's all I've ever seen. I don't know.
I don't know. The sun drop is so good. It just like
It is.
It highlights like it's not just so boring. I don't know. You can see the detail in them, and I don't know. I love that.
Yeah.
Versus just getting a gray piece of, plastic.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so boring to me. I can't stand that.
So you had mentioned like weighted, like something more weighted with a little bit more feel to it. Would you guys pay for, instead of, so let's say we had a game where the monsters are standees or miniatures or whatever. Would you pay extra for like something on the scale of like a Hero Forge mini, or like maybe like a better mini made out of like pewter or something instead of plastic?
Yeah,
I would. That'd be cool. But let's see with the chat. What's going on in the chat?
I even have Oathsworn too. Which, excuse me. Dying.
Yes, Doom Buddy. We want better miniatures.
Yeah, that kind of is what made his comment maybe.
Oh, you stole his.
Well, no. I mean,
not stole it. He inspired it. He inspired it.
It's very inspirational from the chat here. But yeah, like, and honestly, I think that would thrust us into like an even worse area where now we have, your heroes. Like, let's take the Jaws of the Lion example. Your heroes are now made out of like pewter or whatever, and then your enemies are still made out of standees or miniatures. But like, now are we going to a whole different level where everybody's now going to have pewter miniatures, or like,
it would get out of control.
It's like, 24 karat, 24-inch standee. This is your hero.
Ridiculous.
Like,
now the,
only $17,000.
Yeah, the heroes are made of platinum, but now all the Dexa cards are also miniatures. Just piled
I've noticed the miniatures are getting a little bit bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's something they key on in the Kickstarters. They're like, here's this size mini, and then the boss is like 4 times, and it's like showing you a scale and the measurements of like, this is like 19 millimeters. Oh, this is like 40 millimeters.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's millimeters or centimeters, but
in the end, if that's your thing, cool. We are definitely the kind of, I think, maybe I think you're coming along, Joey. We're the kind of gamers we're at the point where we want to play a lot of games, so we don't need as much in our games because we know every game we get, we know we're going to play it a couple times and move on, and that's just the name of the game
for me. It depends on the game for me.
Yeah,
like I said, if it's like that Dwarves game that I backed, I was not interested in the miniatures, so they didn't look great to me. So I wanted the standees, and I love standees normally, but then like I was supposed to get ISS Vanguard. I was supposed to get the standees because the standees look pretty good. But then I looked at like the sun drop stuff, and I'm like,
"They got you, Joey.
I can't do it. I can't just stick with the standees with this fucking company."
Joe, it's really good you're not like into drugs.
Yeah, I'll say
you definitely have an addictive personality.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's why I treat addicts.
That's the only.
I'm an addict, but I'm not really. I'm an addict in different ways. Anything but drugs.
You're the addict whisperer.
Yeah.
Do you ever do that? You ever go to one of your like patients or clients or whatever you call them and be like, "Look, man, I get it," and then you like tell them about.
Listen, I'm going to show you. Yeah.
Last month I went on this Kickstarter binge, and all I could eat was Eggos and protein shakes for the month.
I mean, didn't you give them that presentation of all the custom handmade Gloomhaven models that you created?
Yeah, I did. What? But that was I was doing the presentation of hobbies. So
I gotcha.
Telling them about my hobby, in which I created the Gloomhaven board, the floor and wall set.
That wasn't your way of like inspiring them to not come back. No. If you come back again, we're going to be talking about Marvel United.
Yeah. But I like your idea, Andrew, where there's definitely 2 camps of board gamers. There's some that like to go deep into one game, and then there's some that are dealing more with the breadth of all of games, right? Mm-hmm. Like some people just want to experience a bunch of different experiences which equate to a bunch of different games. Some people just love one idea for a game and they just want to go all in. And I think something like Tainted Grail is a good recent example that we've talked about before.
I went all in on that.
Absolutely. And you're getting your money's worth. Like
you played the
you and
hell out of
Tom
it.
finished the main campaign and now you're about to start the expansion if you haven't already.
We have already.
There we go. See?
Starting to get we're starting it back up tomorrow.
I would like to know, I don't think a Kickstarter company would ever do this. After like a year or two, send out another survey. Hey, did you actually even finish the campaign? And I would really be curious what the turnaround is of people who get some of these bigger games and actually go through with it. Mm-hmm. It's like guitars, right? Guitars are so easy to get. Majority of the guitar sales in the world are to people who buy a guitar and then never learn how to play it.
Yeah. Sometimes, I don't know if this actually like mathematically matches what you're suggesting. Sometimes I'll look at a Kickstarter, right? Let's say, actually, you know what? Let's do this live. Holy crap.
We have the technology.
So I'm gonna also say the numbers for when we end up posting this on Spotify. But I'm gonna take
about that.
I
forgot to hit the button again.
Andrew.
We're learning. We're getting there.
What button? Oh,
the record audio button.
Andrew. So I'm gonna take the newest Kickstarter or the most recent Kickstarter craze, the Marvel Zombicide game. So this game, over 9 million, I believe. Where does it not show me the numbers now? $9 million, 28,000 backers. So sometimes what I like to do, so in Kickstarter, you'll see on the right-hand side, different levels of pledging. Do you want to go all in and get everything available? Do you want to maybe just get the core box and not really worry about the expansion? So what I'm guessing is that you could probably take these numbers, right, and plot them almost like what is the distribution of people who go all in versus the people who only go with the core set, and relate it back to what you were talking about, where how many people a year later would say they've touched this, or I guess right now you can take it as the Kickstarter just ended. Here's the people who thought they were going to play this game. A year later, you poll those people and who actually played it, right? Like that would be some awesome looking data. Like for example, you can see, so 4,200 backed it for this. They call this the Undead Pledge. So this is basically the core box and any stretch goals is what it probably amounts to. This next one for 240 was backed by 5,000 people. So pretty close. This includes the core box, the stretch goals, and the X-Men expansion for the Marvel Zombicide game. You go up to $400 and now you're seeing the numbers dip, right? So it's a little more pricey. You can't really go all in unless you really have the budget for it. 1,600 people. And it includes everything from before plus the Galactus expansion. And then a little bit more than that, you get everything. Like there's Fantastic Four, Hydra, Sinister Six, Guardians of the Galaxy, like Sentinel Strike. I don't even know what that means. And then 4,000 people. Like now the number's jumping back up. Whoa. So it's not really like a bell curve with the price. It's now like this weird, like 2 hill looking thing. $600. Who's backing this? These people are nuts. All 6,000 of them. These people are insane. But like, you see where I'm going with this. Like you can take those numbers of the backers and then kind of plot them on a graph and see, well, now you're going to get a graph that's like a little hill here, but then a bigger hill because people were freaking chilling out. $600 for this?
It's
like
just crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy, guys. It's Zombicide. It's just Zombicide.
Yeah. Spend $600 on a
You've
game.
played Zombicide.
And let me tell you what, if those hundreds of dollars don't amount to free shipping, I'm going to lose my mind. Shipping on all that stuff would be...
They don't.
Oh my God.
Really? They don't?
No.
Wow. Some do. And God bless those Kickstarters because...
It's like a $40 shipping charge usually.
Jeez.
Yeah.
50, something like that.
So it's kind of interesting to me to like look at those numbers. And that's something I actively look at when I'm buying a Kickstarter is like, who thinks that, like, you might see the total number is, 10,000 people backed this. Oh, that's cool. But then you see maybe 9,000 of that 10,000 have backed just the core set. Because, well, does that mean the expansion's garbage? Or does that mean people just don't want to go as deep? I don't have the answers. These are just things that I think about when I'm looking at Kickstarter.
This
It's
what
like
keeps you up at night.
well, I mean, it's cool. It's cool to look at, right? When you start diving into some of these numbers and how people wrap their minds around all this stuff. To me, that's interesting. But
Yeah, $600 for Marvel Zombicide.
yeah.
Everything.
Well, I mean, again, the point I'm making isn't about Marvel Zombicide. So just calm down. Calm down, Andrew. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah,
Just pet his arm. Just pet his arm. Palm him down. It's gonna be okay.
it's not for me. It's not for me. That's $600. It's 12 $50 board games. 12 different games, and that's a $50 game. If you actually average it out of good games, that's probably closer to 16 to 20 good board games.
That's 12 furnaces.
Somebody's probably thinking like, for everybody's thinking like that. There's somebody like, well, I don't want all these $50 little games. I could just throw out all of these and get one big quality game.
Yeah.
That's like what I'm thinking. Usually, I don't want all these little crappy,
Yeah.
shitty games that I'm like.
But usually people who do that, they then, after they already spent the money, then they start to think of, well, how am I going to get people to play this with me?
And how many of these people that have backed this, the Marvel version, how many of them do you think backed or own the regular Zombicide? Because the regular Zombicide also has a decent number of expansions to it.
Yeah.
So like,
I don't know. That's what, like, it's hard to, I mean, we'd have to go back through the other Kickstarters. Are these Zombicide fans or these Marvel fans?
I have a feeling I know the answer to that.
Yeah. and that's
or both.
And see, that's another problem with these IPs, because I've never played Zombicide. It seems like an okay game, but it just seems like an okay game. It's an old game at this point, so unless they're updating the rules, although the fantasy version did seem pretty cool.
It's an old code, but it checks out. So.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of. I just joined a Discord group. Shout out Broward Board Gamer Discord group. There's a lot of people who very recently, in the past couple of years, 2 years, have started to get into board games, and it's definitely. When you say the Marvel craze started? Probably about
10 years ago when Tony Stark put on the armor.
Not
pretty much.
What do you want?
No, I mean like Marvel board game stuff.
Oh,
like now you got Marvel Splendor, you got
after
Marvel,
Endgame.
After Endgame,
Yeah, very much.
Yeah, because that was like the nice little bow that wrapped up the Marvel. The first 3 phases, 3 or 4. I always get those.
Yeah, it was 3 phases.
3.
Now we're in 4.
Yeah.
What makes it a phase?
Kevin Feige blessed it so.
Okay, someone just said it is.
Papa Feige.
That's not a question you should ask.
Yeah.
We could
we
could be here forever.
think of it like a story, like a typical like 3-act story or play, right? You have the introduction, kind of the rising tension, and then the resolution. So if you think about it in that makes more sense of
So what phase are we in now?
4.
So what's that?
Phase 1, part 2. This is just the next phase 1, but they're just continuing. You know what? You're not caught up anyway. Let it go.
And so that's why I definitely, with all these Marvel games, I'm approaching this as kind of an outsider looking in, because
I get worse from here on.
I've almost seen none of the movies, and I was a Batman kid, so I wasn't in the Marvel when I was a kid. So I'm really looking at this from an outside looking in, and it's crazy. I don't know. It's like,
well, there's like a lot of setup. So really, you look at the movies as like episodes in a TV show. Like instead of it being a 22 episode series for one season, it's 22 movies that are, it's not even a series finale because it's still going.
Yeah.
It's a season. Like that's season 1 of the Marvel, arc is 22 movies.
of the Marvel soap opera.
Yeah,
pretty much. And now we're going on to season 2, basically, which is going to set up a new villain, which I'm excited about. And we'll see him, same time we saw Thanos, pretty much. Probably, there's been little whispers of him and little hints and secrets at him. So that's the fun part. It's like people like there's drama in it. It's
there's a lot of details.
Who's going to be the big baddie this season, or this phase? And I mean, everybody's got their theories and ideas, and then everybody's looking at old footage and like, this is what's going to lead to this.
I do get a lot of TikToks of me rewatching this movie and then seeing like little seeds that were dropped. This was 10 movies ago from this movie, and they.
So that's always fun when you're going through,
Yeah. That's absolutely, like, to be able to see that someone took the time to plant a seed way back then intentionally. A lot of the Marvel stuff is very intentional at what they do. Very connected.
I'll give them credit for
interweaved.
that.
So it makes it good because it's literary work. It's like foreshadowing, and like that's what makes something actually, I mean, not to say that there's not trouble with Marvel, because they have gotten that Disney shittiness to it, but generally, like, there's care with the characters, unlike most movies and TV shows and media. Things have reasons for doing the things.
Except first
doing.
Deadpool. Well, that was Fox still, right? That wasn't wasn't Disney yet.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually a good segue into board game news. So my first board game story. Let's go back to the interwebs.
Oh,
I'm going to blow this up for myself.
Do you want me to do it?
I got it.
Okay.
So I pulled aside for this part of my segment.
My God,
I saw
what is this title?
3 stories, right?
Jesus.
So this one reminded me of something me and Ralph did on a podcast a while back. I think it was just me and Ralph that night. So this story came out 11 hours ago. The best Avengers game from News 4 Buffalo, right? So a corporate news network. What do you think number one's going to be?
I can't stop staring at
shitty.
I can't stop staring at the worst website ever.
That too.
Probably something to sell more of their probably corporate nonsense.
So this is a game.
This is
around the Avengers.
This is a list of the best Avengers board games from News 4 Buffalo.
Is this going to be like a bait and switch where it's the Avengers with like Ray Fiennes and Uma Thurman and wait, was it Ray Fiennes in that movie? I don't even know. But it said I don't know. That's my guess.
I'll move on. So I would have say fell out of my seat, but I was laying in bed when I saw this. Number 1, Avengers Monopoly.
Who hurt this website?
Ready for number 2?
I'm about to say something.
Marvel Clue.
All right. Jenga? Where's Jenga?
Nope, you get superhero match cards.
Wow.
Jesus.
People, look, who is
somebody
who
fired
this
this
article?
man. Get him canceled.
I think it was
Get him
a lady.
canceled.
No, Jordan Beliles.
Don't put his name out there.
and this was I think we talked about this the last time we brought something like this up. A quick Google search would have shown so many other things that are board games, but it often seems like some of these bigger media outlets, they already know what games are, and then they come in with their ideas, and it's like,
I mean,
I don't know how many people subscribe to the Channel 4 Buffalo News webpage. Probably not a lot, like you said, based on the quality of the site. But you're kind of like, there's so many good designers out there and publishers, and like you're giving up a spotlight for freaking Monopoly when you could have, even the new Marvel Zombicide would have been better. And which, if you searched Marvel games right now, that probably, let's see if we search.
I mean, clearly this guy had a manager who's like, you got to make an article. I'm like, fine. I don't know anything about games. Here's Monopoly. And
I just Google Marvel board games.
And I do want to say, population of Buffalo, 256,000 as of 2019. So that's a good lot of eyeballs on
but
Marvel Villainous.
Even Villainous. Look,
What do you mean even Villainous? Villainous is an
don't
okay
like
game.
Villainous.
Well, shut up.
Look, Marvel United there.
I think this guy actually played those games, and those are his favorite. I think he's just very simplistic.
You think he played the Marvel?
Yeah, he's just a very simplistic dude. He's
the
just
matching
like,
game.
He's like, listen,
What is
I
even
play
the
all
age?
sorts of board games. I
even
play
the age
Monopoly
on
as
this?
my regular.
Did you
game.
Entry level children's game? It's all about developing a good memory using Avengers characters. I personally like to pour a glass of wine before playing.
Hold on. I just want to let me scroll up here. Because I want to see how they preface this. If this is meant to be more like a kids game list, then yeah, maybe some of these games make sense, and maybe you're just ragging on it for no reason. I just want to see.
I don't think so.
What's the date? When was this made?
11
hours ago.
Oh my god. No excuse then.
Did you get your answer?
No, but I don't think I'll find it either. So
Oh, look, it says adult themes. Anyways.
Well,
So I took the liberty of then actually finding some better lists. I wanted to see what you guys thought. So this is from Dicebreaker. I think we checked them out before. This is their top 10 list. We got Legendary, a Marvel deck building game. I watched Dice World play that one. That one looked pretty dope. Marvel Dice Masters.
Really?
I've never played Marvel Dice Masters, but it's basically the Quarriors engine, but with different IPs.
Okay.
So that's probably fun. Marvel United, Joey's favorite.
I got that one.
Marvel Villainous, Infinite Power, sure. 5-minute Marvel, based, reskin of 5-minute Dungeon. Marvel Strike Teams, haven't really heard of. Love Letter. Oh god, Love Letter is becoming like the IP.
yeah. I mean, there's Batman Love Letter for sure.
Yeah.
So,
Marvel Champions, Thanos Rising, which that one looks kind of interesting. Isn't that even based off of? Isn't that a reskin of another game too?
I'm not sure.
No.
Dead Rising.
Click on it. Let's find out.
And X-Men Mutant Insurrection. This one.
Oh.
That one seemed interesting.
Huh.
So yeah, so good list. This article was from I think less than a year ago. Which why didn't this guy? He should have just copied this list, because I don't think, aside from some more Marvel United expansions and what do you call it, the new Kickstarter, there really hasn't been any more Marvel games than what's on this list. Could be wrong. Got another one from Board Game Quest. They had a pretty similar list. We got Villainous, Marvel Splendor. I'd play that. I like Splendor. HeroClix. This is why I saved this list. Did you guys ever play HeroClix? Do you guys remember HeroClix?
No.
So HeroClix was back in like what was it? It had to have been like the early 2000s. There was it was a game called HeroClix. I think they used different IPs, like there was a Halo HeroClix. Like they tried a lot of things. Marvel HeroClix was the most popular. And it was kind of it was like a booster pack based miniatures combat game where you would buy from a set and open it up, and then you had different rarities of miniatures.
Oh boy.
Kind of like Beyblades or something.
Not like Beyblades, but they had when they took damage, they had these little counters that you would click, 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 hence the name HeroClix. But what that clicker did, it would also change some kind of symbolage, I think, on the front and also on the bottom through a window. So like different damage states of your character could change how things, how they do things, how their damage output is. If they're defeated when they have this symbol in the window, they're actually not defeated, or that you swap it out with another hero, stuff like that.
And when you get to 0, does the miniature explode?
Yeah, it explodes and it sets
That would be
the paper map on fire. Anyways, watch video one day when you're bored.
7.5.
No, man, I played
Marvel?
Magic. I understand.
Yeah.
They added 2.5 minutes.
No, this is
No,
number
it-
this
oh
is
my
number
God.
7. 5 minute mark.
Oh my god, that was so innocent but so good.
Sorry, I didn't change the screen back. So yeah, 7.5
just terribly
7.5 minute Marvel.
Yeah.
Marvel Dice Masters again. HeroScape Marvel, which HeroScape I've heard was a pretty popular game. There's somebody at our meetup who said they want to bring it into play, but they said they have to come early and like build this big battlefield and stuff.
Oh,
so I'm like, I'm down.
I'm curious.
I'm down for it.
I mean, how has Joey not met this person? I feel
I'm
like
Marvel
you're
curious right now.
Joey doesn't come to meetups all the time, man.
Yeah, that's true.
well.
You get sleepy.
Yeah, I fell asleep.
Marvel Crisis Protocol. Not familiar with this one. I don't know if Crisis Protocol is another game reskinned, or see, the miniatures look excellent, assembled and ideally painted. Blah blah. That's okay. Let's move along. Legendary, Marvel United, and Marvel Champions.
Yeah.
So that's the end of that rant, that bit. So come on, news people, columnists, just try a little.
Whoever this
just
guy
try a
is,
little.
you need to
Jordan
rethink your life choices, I think.
Best reviews staff. Just
It's gotta be a joke article or something.
No, I don't think so, Joey.
I mean, why not? Well, never mind.
This man is
I'm gonna let it
very
go.
basic. Let me just say.
Probably.
This is a very basic dude. He eats oatmeal for breakfast every morning. He has like the plainest. There's no spices in anything he eats.
He thinks ketchup is spicy.
Yeah. This is
all right. So that's the end of my Marvel bit. Any comments? Am I crazy? Am I being too critical?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
I just feel like, don't we want to build an inclusive hobby where you're now gatekeeping because this guy's list isn't good enough, Andrew?
It's okay. Like I said,
Mr. Meetup
could
asking
come
for a
off like
friend.
that.
Asking for a friend.
But what I'm saying is someone who's a professional writer who, he
Nothing professional about
does
this,
he,
man.
are you, unless he owns all 3 of these games, he had to like Google it, right?
There's only 3 games on this list?
That's it. The list is only 3 games.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure
I'll
he
ding
owns
him
them
for
all.
only having 3 games on his list, but I will not ding him for...
Well, so unless this
I'm pretty
man,
sure he owns just these, and that's like his best games.
so you're saying he set this picture up and took
Yeah.
a picture?
Yeah, sure, why not? No, that's a little too good for his.
No,
quality.
I'm saying most likely this person had to go on the internet and search for these Marvel games and somehow had the blinders on and ignored every other Marvel game that pops up when you Google.
Yeah, it's too confusing to him. All his components and things.
I mean, that's a very real thing, is that maybe he did see those,
Yeah.
and he said to himself, well, for our audience, like, they're not going to know what these are. Like, this is some weird other thing that, might not appeal to our audience.
Yeah, but anyone who could...
Andrew, I'm just...
Anyone
you
who
have to
can
take-
play Clue. Clue's not a super simple game. It's an easy game, but
you're making a lot of assumptions about him, and for you to refute my assumptions that counter your assumptions...
all I'm
Just
saying
saying.
is if you can play Clue, you could probably play Splendor.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball, Andrew.
I'm sure he had a bigger list. He probably gave it to his manager. He's like, cut this down. Nobody knows what any of these games are.
Some cigar
You're gonna have to-
chomping
Right.
old man.
What? Crazy.
I want pictures of Spider-Man.
He's a Marvel character.
All right. Anyways, my last bit of board game news. I found this Geek Dad website. I think also we've used them before. They have this nice little news section that just kind of compiles it all. So, big in the news recently. So there's a copyright fight over the Game of Life between the family of the game's original designer and Hasbro, and the ruling could have big implications for the publisher.
Well, I hope they don't.
Like
rule-
what?
I don't know. I'm just reading bulletins.
Oh, you don't know. So you're reporting on news. You did a terrible job, and you're knocking the other guy for doing a shit job.
Well, no.
all right.
We can click on them.
I'm just just calling it like I see it, man.
What's your board game news, Ralph?
I didn't bring any,
Oh, okay.
and that's okay. I'm not fronting like I have news. This is
Would you like to read more about the copyright fight?
no.
All right. Next bulletin. The housing lottery for Gen Con opens on February 13th. No telling whether the lower attendance will mean it's easier to get a downtown hotel, but we'll be in line with the rest of you. Hotels, man. That's what we did at Otaku Fest recently, and everything nearby was way too expensive to stay one night.
Yeah. So today's the 17th. Probably all sold out. Good luck.
Probably. All right, next one, Joe. I think you'd like this one. Oh, no, not this one. Sorry. Maybe you will. Steamforge Games announces a deluxe collector's edition of Dark Souls, the role-playing game, coming in March. The standard edition is available for pre-order now, and the $100 glit-edged version will start pre-order on February 16th with a limited print run of 5,000 copies. Exclusive. This is the one I thought you'd find interesting, which I found interesting. And I think Michelle told me this the other day. Ravensburger, they make Villainous. They're investing $4.5 million into GameFound, which is if you don't know, a crowdfunding platform dedicated to tabletop games that hopes to give Kickstarter a run for its money. Now,
Very much support that.
of course, because your Lord and Savior's Awakened Realms are the actual owners of GameFound. But I thought this was, honestly, I should have just saved this story. This is what I found interesting, because I'm surprised that the GameFound website hasn't happened sooner, where all these board game publishers are coming in and putting money in this service, and then everyone migrating over from Kickstarter to GameFound, which makes sense. I mean, Kickstarter already majority, we know from statistics, is board games. So it only naturally makes sense that you have a website that's strictly board games.
Yep.
Yeah. Like there's there's, everyone knows eBay, right? Classic website.
You know what the E stands for?
Everything.
No. Electronic.
Oh, did I know that? Anyways.
All right. That concludes our fun fact segment.
Good to know. Another fun fact. A few years ago, there was somebody started a website called Reverb, which is basically a musical instrument version of eBay. It's gotten quite popular. I mean, I go on all the time. I don't think I've only bought something once through there. Sometimes it's I guess there is a downside because since everyone's into music there, the prices tend to be a little higher than finding some one-off thing on eBay. But actually, did I ever meet the guy? I have a friend who was good friends with the guy one of the guys who started that used to live down here. Anyways. And lastly, Osprey Games announces 3 upcoming RPGs coming in the next year, including a clockpunk title that takes place in Italy during the Renaissance, involving Da Vinci's inventions.
All right.
I like Osprey Games. They make Decrypted, which is the only game I can ever remember that they make. But that's it for my news. Anybody have anything else?
I don't really have any news. It's only been a week. I haven't been able to.
It's only been a whole week.
It's only been a whole week. I've had board games to play.
Yeah.
I was looking at news for board games and they could be playing board games.
Yeah, this board game podcast does get in the way of actually playing games, right?
Yes.
Anyways, okay, so...
I was going to look some stuff up real quick, but I'm too slow on the draws for that.
Like, did Hasbro buy this article? Probably. Hasbro owns everything. All right. I guess with that being said, we'll wrap it up.
There's board game news.
Are you... Yes, no?
There's nothing cool here.
Yep. Music's already rolling in.
They're making a Sailor Moon game.
Are they?
It's not worth talking about.
Yeah. We're good. We're an hour and a half in.
Fight an old man with goggles in the loop. What? It's a review. I'm curious about this game. Is it the name of the game?
Next week we'll report to you on this mystery game that Joey's looking at.
It's called The Loop.
Anyways, thanks again for joining us. If you're live with us now, thank you so much for sticking around with us. If you're watching this at a later date, we appreciate the support. I forgot to hit the record button again, so
nobody heard a damn thing we said?
Well, no, everyone heard it on YouTube, just
to
put it on Spotify.
Right.
That's okay. Our biggest fans, Ralph's parents, were with us, so
maybe.
Or we put them to sleep when we started talking about
Avengers
Avengers Monopoly.
No, I just saw some average watch time is about 22 minutes, and I don't think everybody made it.
It's hard to make it the distance.
It is.
They're just gonna save and watch the recording later. It's fine.
They're busy playing board games.
I wish.
Anyway, so if you're in the South Florida area, we meet every Monday at Gulfstream Brewery for meetups, once a month at Flynn's Arcade in Margate. This Saturday, we will be at Beyond Comic Con. It's a free convention in North Miami. You have to register online, I think, to get in for free, but it doesn't cost anything. If you'd like to support the podcast, check out boardgamergifts.com. We got merch and still need to make some new podcast shirts, and follow us on our socials at Crawl Board Games. And if you're not on social media, you can leave comments in this video, or you can send us an email at that one's still... Never mind. We don't have email currently.
2022. Why don't we have email?
We still have regular mail.
We have Instagram. We don't need email.
If you have a messenger pigeon, send them our way.
One day the biggest deals in business will be done over Instagram Messenger. And we'll just... email will be obsolete. So... All right. We'll see you guys next time.